Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. We begin in Nigeria, where the federal government has announced it will shut down 3 international airports in the country as part of precautionary measures to curb the ravaging spread of the coronavirus pandemic. The 3 airports are Malam Aminu Kano International Airport, Kano, Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, and the Port Harcourt International Airport, Omagwa. The Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, and the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, will still be open. This will take effect from Saturday, March 21st.
Well, I think that, the Nigerian government should be commended. In the last 48 hours, we've seen a rapid response, attitude and an acceleration in the attempt by the Nigerian government to take the escalation in the cases of coronavirus in Nigeria far more seriously than hitherto. After it was announced that 5 more cases were established in Lagos, we saw in the country, we saw government moving very quickly. We saw the state governments also taking decisions. Yesterday, 4 more cases were announced by the Federal Ministry of Health and the Lagos State Ministry of Health. And almost immediately, the federal government moved. As we stand now, as it is now, the federal government has shut down national orientation camps for the NYSC. All schools, including universities, primary schools, secondary schools in the country have been shut down. 3 airports, international airports, have been shut down. A restriction ban has been placed on high-risk countries, 13 of them that have also been identified. And, all of these measures, in my view, will show that the Nigerian government is taking the matter seriously, because what we have seen is that in many of the countries that have been affected, Italy, for example, or even the United Kingdom, you start by having 1 case, 2 cases, 3 cases, and you can have an explosion. So the steps that the Nigerian government has taken, I hope, will help to, whereby Nigeria, which has a huge population, the largest population in Africa, 1 out of every 4 or 5 Africans, is a Nigerian. So we need to take steps to prevent Nigeria from becoming an epicenter in Africa. And I think that so far, so good, but there's a lot more that can be done. I would like to see more qualitative response, for example, from the private sector. In some other parts of the world, tech giants, companies, they are already showing interest and trying to take steps. I have not had Nigerian companies taking steps. Okay, Arise News this morning has taken steps. I'm sitting away from you, not up to 6 feet, but, guests are not going to sit with you and I. And when Leila comes on Monday, she will be sitting also a bit far away from us. Now, companies must also take measures. In Europe, some companies have told their staff to work from home, right?
Companies here too are doing that. I know a lot of people working
from home. Oh, in Nigeria?
Yes.
Okay, but that has not been publicized.
Yes.
And then the companies should also donate and support government, because the statement that was issued by Garuba Shehu on behalf of the president yesterday, indicated that, look, we are all in this together. Although the part of the statement that I don't like is saying we should not panic. No, we should panic. It's obvious that even government itself is beginning to panic.
Yes.
And the concern is, do we have the real numbers? We have been told 12 cases in Nigeria. You probably have up to 1,000. You probably have to 100,000 in Nigeria.
This is the reality of the matter. And to quote Leo Varadkar's statistics, which are so staggering, Ireland this month had 165 cases. Leo Varadkar says at the end of this month it will be 15,000. This is the way this pandemic has just taken hold and spreading exponentially. Look at the state of Italy.
Yeah.
It all starts with just 1 infected person, and everybody just collapses like, a pack of dominoes. It's really scary. And as I was saying, as of this morning, I know quite a few people that are working from home, whether or not their company has said so. In most cases, their company has said they should work from home. In other cases, they have decided to take matters into their own hands, because you only have 1 life. When you see that your colleagues have just returned from a trip overseas and have not self-quarantined, you owe it to yourself, to your family, to the people in your neighborhood to do the right thing and stay at home. This is where I would like the government to step in. It's still advice. When you arrive from wherever you've come from, you're advised, if it's a high-risk country, those 13, to self-quarantine. There's no enforcement. A lot of those people land, take a shower, and go out. It's completely irresponsible at this point.
Well, anyway, one good news from Nigeria also is that the Christian Association of Nigeria and the Pentecostal Federation of Nigeria. They both issue statements, to give directives as to what should happen during worship on Sunday. And they've advised people to follow government's directives. And I think it's very important that persons who ordinarily would say, well, we are insisting on our religious freedom, are also supporting government, because we are all in this together. But what I would like to see the Nigerian government do further is to impose penalties. In some countries, the decision has been taken that, look, if you gather in a place like Israel, if you disobey government and you are up to about 10 persons in a gathering, the Israeli police has been instructed to disrupt that gathering and to use reasonable force, if possible.
It's necessary.
But you see in Lagos and other parts of Nigeria, people are still distributing Ashoebi, they are distributing cards for parties. No. All weddings should be cancelled. Any mass gathering should be suspended.
It's not worth it.
Until further notice.
I think a lot of people
I've not been attending any gathering for a while.
Which you shouldn't. A lot of people are still joking with this pandemic. This is a life or death situation. Another thing they're doing in Israel, the Shin Bet, which is their sort of domestic, is their domestic security agency that deals with tracking Palestinian and Israeli extremists. Now they're sending text messages to regular Israelis and they're calling them by name. You will get a message on your phone. Dr. Abati, you've been exposed to somebody who we suspect of having COVID-19. Self-isolate now. And it's so shocking to the Israelis because they feel like their privacy has been compromised, but it's worth it. It's worth it to sacrifice that privacy for now.
No, we have to strike a balance between democracy and national security
at this
time of emergency. Yes. And there must be a trade-off, as Arthur M. Okon, as I give in a very famous essay. Well, do we still have another story?
Yes, we do. The news of the growing cases of coronavirus in Nigeria was broken earlier by the Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi. At a news briefing, he gave details of the 4 new cases, which brings the total number of confirmed cases in Nigeria to 12. Arise News senior correspondent Tokunbo Oyetunji has the details.
In the course of yesterday, we performed 19 tests on suspected cases and contacts of the new cases that were admitted the day before. Out of those 19 tests, we have 4 new positives. We are currently running more tests on suspected cases and contacts of our confirmed cases. It is clear that we have a combination of imported cases and local transmission.
4 new cases of the deadly COVID-19 recorded in Lagos in the last 24 hours, making a total of 8. Is that scary? Yes, to you and I.
Wow, that's Tokunbo Oyetunji there with that report. It's worrying, 12 new confirmed cases. Anyway, we'll take
the good news is that we don't have many deaths. I think we've recorded only 1 death, and that's not associated with coronavirus. So hopefully we'll survive. We'll take a short break now. When we return, the morning show will continue.
Welcome back. Would you want to do the
Please go ahead.
Welcome back to the morning show here on the Rise News. We're now being joined by our business analyst, Rotas Adiri. Good morning, Rotas.
Good morning, Dr. Good morning, Tundu. Good morning, good morning. So the news for today is that the executive secretary for the PPRA, the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, spoke to journalists yesterday and said that, listen, the 125 naira pump price of fuel that was announced from effective the 18th is good until April 1st. And so as of April 1st, there's going to be possibly, depending on market dynamics, be a new pump price. So this follows from our discussion yesterday where we talked about the Minister of State for Petroleum, Mr. Timperio Silva, who went to the Federal Executive Council meeting. He made a presentation stating that there were going to be changes in how the pump price was going to be announced. But here's the thing. It would have been great if he had given his directive to the PPPRA as the regulator who is supposed to modulate prices, not the NNPC. His initial directive went to the NNPC, and then I told them, okay, look, it reduced the pump price to 125, and then subsequently the PPRA now put out a statement, a press release. Now, if you look at the press release that they put out, specifically point number 6, they said that they are going to be using market fundamentals to modulate the price on a monthly basis. I spoke yesterday about how marketers and a few others, even myself, were even a little bit hesitant to call it a deregulation of the downstream sector because they didn't use that language specifically. But if you read actually, if I read the statement, that point number 6, and in fact, I even circled it there, monitor trends in market fundamentals, which essentially means that they're going to be using crude oil, right, the price of crude oil, to dictate the price as the regulator, to dictate the price that marketers are now going to use. Now, the key thing is this, and we had a guest on the Global Business Report, which your viewers can watch at 11 a.m. on Arise TV. That particular analyst, an oil and gas analyst, came out and was talking about the templates that was being used, which we have up for our viewers here, the PPPRA pricing template. One of the key issues here is foreign exchange. Now, this is the reason why some have challenged the issue of whether or not this is a deregulation. The NNPC, as the sole importer as of right now, is able to bring in fuel, refined fuel, at a particular exchange rate, right? And so the marketers are still having to grapple with an exchange rate on the parallel market of 360 to 380. Now, you're bringing in the pump price at that amount. How do you then tell them to sell at 125? The dynamics, until foreign exchange is sorted out, there's still going to be a few issues there. But by and large, based on the Executive Secretary's announcement and how the pump price is going to change from month to month, it is effectively a deregulation.
I think we should not put lipstick on the pig.
Okay.
We should say the facts and the truth as they are.
Yes.
First, when the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources and the NNPC decided to unilaterally reduce the pump price of fuel,
yes,
it was a case of doing the right thing the wrong way.
Okay.
Now, there's been argument about deregulation of the downstream sector and full liberalization in the downstream sector. And every government, since Yaradua to Jonathan to Buhari, had been trying to deal with it. But the issue has always been, how do you do it?
Right.
When is the right time to do it? What I see this time around, you'll recall that yesterday I raised a number of questions about what the NNPC did unilaterally. The NNPC itself being a retailer. And I had said that it was the PPPRA, the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, that should have made the announcement.
Correct.
Not the ministry, not the NNPC, that is an interested party. And what the NNPC did was to say, our own outlets, right, we now sell pump price of petrol at this amount. And if you've gone around town, since that announcement was made, other dealers and marketers did not follow suit. They continue to sell at 145. You can do the investigation yourself. Some people have said, where is the Department of Petroleum Resources to enforce this? Now, the Department of Petroleum Resources has not enforced anything in the last 24 hours. Now, what they are trying to do now, in my view, is to now do the right thing the right way by saying the PPPRA will meet. The PPRA is meeting today. They have a board meeting today. And the NNPC is going to be part of that board meeting as a retailer. Oil majors, oil marketers, and dealers will also be part of that meeting. So why were the stakeholders, the oil marketers and the other stakeholders, why were they not consulted before the minister and the NNPC went ahead to make that announcement? Now, I see this as deregulation via the route of coronavirus, even if it is a good thing, okay? The government should provide clarity, and I hope that the board meeting that will be held in Abuja today will provide that clarity to say that, look, I'm not going to help PPPRA or NNPC to interpret their statements. There should be clarity.
I'll gloss over it.
Yes, but there are people who say, for political reasons, government cannot come forward and say, we are deregulating. Now, you've made the point about Forex, right?
Yes.
NNPC, which is retailer and the biggest dealer, the major dealer, brings in, about 60, 70% of all the fuel that we have, fuel supply, right? Other people buy from
them.
NMPC, the dealers and the marketers. How can the marketers play in the market? If there is this multiple exchange rate window,
right.
NMPC gets its own dollar at a preferential rate. The marketers don't get their own foreign exchange at a preferential rate.
Correct.
So you are not going to have any improvement because the marketers are helpless. They are at the mercy of NMPC. And that's why some people call for liberalization. Now, the other part of it, NMPC depends heavily on crude oil swap refining, right? They give contracts out to foreign refiners and they bring it in at an advantage. When will the refineries in Nigeria be put to work? Because Nigerians don't have to still even pay 125 naira per liter. All those charges you refer to in the PPPRA template, yes. Customs, whatever, landing charge, whatever. If we refine the fuel in Nigeria here,
that reduces those.
Nigerians will buy fuel at 50 naira or 60 naira or 90 naira, whatever the market prices talk about. So this market reality that we're talking about is a market reality that speaks to the inefficiency of NMPC and inefficiency within the oil and gas sector.
Excellent points, Dr. Abasi. But just to as far as your earlier statement on the need for clarity, it needs to be emphasized. Again, going by point number 6 on the press statement. The press statement is pretty clear. They will use market fundamentals to determine the price. And that is, I mean, you can't get any more clear than that. I mean, I know that some of us want to see the actual D word. We are deregulating. You don't have to see. And when the PPRA says that we are using market fundamentals to determine the price, they almost don't even need to include stakeholders. This is an announcement. They're the regulator.
No,
and
I don't want to be anybody's interpreter.
No,
I'm saying that the latest statement that was made by, is it Saidu?
Yes, Abdul Kadir Saidu, the Executive Secretary of PPRA.
That's
yes.
the Executive Secretary.
Right.
He says that going forward, henceforth, that's the word he used,
yes.
that oil prices will now on a monthly basis be determined by market realities.
No, but that was in the statement. That was in the press statement.
Even in the latest statement that he made.
Right. So just to be clear, he said that the 125 naira pump price is good until
I
March
know all of that.
Yeah, so that was in the statement.
But
right.
what he's saying is that even beyond this March 31st, if oil prices go up,
right,
oil prices will pump
price will go up. Right.
If oil prices come down,
pump price will come down.
Okay. The question is, if our refineries are working,
right,
and we are not importing finished products, okay, do we need to depend that much on the volatility of oil prices, spot price? Because spot price of crude oil will always be volatile.
It's volatile, but you see, even in the United States, around the world, even countries with refineries, they still the general price of crude oil still determines what you pay at the pump. Look at what President Trump said when oil prices fell. He said Americans are getting a tax cut. Right.
You know, I mean, we're import dependent in
That's
Nigeria.
true. That's true.
And I'm saying we should not be so heavily import dependent. Even if all our refineries are working at full capacity,
yes,
we may still need to import. Right?
The refined product.
But
right.
in terms of the differentials,
yes,
Nigerians will not need to pay more for something that is available under the pipelines in Phoenix Village.
True, but again, the PPRA's job as the regulator is just to tell us, hey, look, this is what the price is going to be going forward, and that's essentially what they do. There are still issues, refineries and so on and so forth. Those issues are there. But the PPRA has done its job, and their job was to let us know that this is how this is going to work out.
It's good to see PPRA now working, and not, federal government dictating oil prices, right. Because the problem has been over-regulation.
Very true, very true.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll be joined by our sports analyst, Aaron Akirejala. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. We're now being joined by our sports analyst, Aaron Akirejala. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning, Tundun. Looking like a ray of sunshine this morning. All right. Dr. Abati, good morning.
Aaron the Baron.
Where were you from?
Yeah, so far away.
Yeah, this time around. Yeah. And quite so, we're still feeling the impact of coronavirus on sports. and it's been quite heavy. It's as the days and the weeks go by, it's becoming startling and unraveling. And the Premier League has been one that has felt the bite the most, just like several other sporting activities, like Formula One, for example, where the Monaco Grand Prix has been suspended because the Prince of Monaco has actually tested positive to coronavirus. But in the Premier League, a lot has been...
His Serene Highness.
Okay.
The Prince of Monaco.
Yes, yeah, the Prince of Monaco, yes. So it's rather unfortunate, but the latest right now is the fact that, as it stands right now, the Premier League, in their wisdom, or the FA and in the Premier League, in their wisdom, have said that every match in the English Premier League should be suspended up until the 30th of next month, which is actually a big blow. And at the same time, have insisted, which is actually very key, and to gladden Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool fans, that the season should finish. All right, no matter how long it takes, the season should finish, and which is good news for Liverpool fans, because at some point, some people claim for some selfish reasons are trying to render the season null and void, and actually asking that the season should be rendered null and void with the hope that maybe, just maybe, nobody will be crowned champion at the end of the day, and Liverpool's wait for a title and for 30 years might just be botched. But that's not going to happen right now, as the FA has insisted this would actually go on. But at the moment, what will happen after the 30th is still left to be seen, because there are a lot of complexities that actually is being thrown into the fray. But one thing is certain is that right now, football is actually setting the example in the UK, and I must actually say how footballers, clubs are actually setting the standard. For example, Roman Abramovich and Gary Neville, former Manchester United player, have actually given out their hotels to medical staffs to actually use. Players are actually donating to ensure that foods are actually going around the UK, which is actually quite exemplary. In dark times like this, you need people who actually earn a lot to actually begin to come forward, and that's beautiful. But for now, everyone knows that we don't know what will happen after the 30th. It's still very, very grey. But we know that it's certain that there will not be football between now and the 30th of next month.
Perhaps effectively the Premier League for this season has ended.
No, it's not ended. No, the FA has insisted it will
finish.
It should finish at some point, but we're not sure when.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because the FA has not announced any limit to the season.
Yes.
Right? So what it means is that Liverpool may just walk away with the title. Automatically.
But that cannot even happen, because mathematically, Liverpool haven't won the title. They need 2 wins to actually clinch the title. And you cannot say to Liverpool, just get the title because you're 25 points ahead of others. The requisite matches should be played, because certainly some people are already they are already putting their lawyers on retainers and actually telling them, as a matter of fact, that we're going to actually take it to court.
The question is, the FA is saying there will be no football until it is safe to do so.
Yeah.
When will it be safe to do so?
This is the thing.
For how long will coronavirus last?
But they're hoping that between now and the 30th, because Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK, has spoken that he has given a 12-week window for this to be contained, and they're hoping that with the projections of the government, that it might be safe by the end of April to actually begin football once again. What now happens?
It's another... that soothsaying is not the solution to coronavirus.
True.
So there is nobody who can act as the prophet, either Prime Minister or President,
that's really the bottom
who
line.
will say this is how it will end. They recorded their last case in China. But look at what is going on in Italy. Where do you know where the next epicenter will show up? Maybe in Africa. But we're struggling here in Nigeria to make sure that Nigeria does not become the epicenter for Africa.
We're hoping so, and let's see how things actually unravel there. And it's quite complex. It's quite complex because there are even talks that for every match that is postponed, it's going to cost clubs, and it's going to cost the Premier League £1 million for every match. And I see well over 90 matches to still be played this season alone in the English Premier League. So I'm not even talking about the 2020-21 season.
On that point, I quote Mikel Obi to you. That it's better to be alive than to play football.
Yeah, at the moment, that's it. And moving away from the Premier League with so much uncertainty now to Nigeria, this has been a developing story, and this time around, just yesterday, the National Association of Nigerian Footballers, the president being heard by Hadisu Jala, has actually come out and he has slapped a massive lawsuit on 2 bodies. Of course, first of all, the Nigeria Football Federation and the Nigerian Police. Of course, the Nigeria Football Federation, he said that they should pay the player who actually met his untimely demise. Talking about Chineme Martins, yes, of Nasarawa United, $5 million, right, for gross negligence in the death, because that should have been avoided. It could have been avoided, but unfortunately that was not the case. And right now he's saying that the families deserve a hefty compensation worth $5 million. And he's also slapping another lawsuit against the Nigerian police for the complicit deaths in another case that had to do with Temu sometime in Ogun State. And he's saying that
not enough time to make comments, but I think with Tamiyu Kazem, the problem is with the police. They can only make an appeal and insist on the prosecution of the police officer that killed them. As for Chineme Martins, yes, there was clearly a case of negligence, and they can press their case in court. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much.